Imagine standing in a room where the air itself feels tight, pulled taut like a wire about to snap. In the center of the frame, two figures are locked in a geometric embrace that is as beautiful as it is terrifying. On the left, Marina Abramović. On the right, Ulay. They are not merely standing, they are leaning, their bodies angled away from one another at a precarious degree, suspended over the cold floor by nothing but the opposing force of their own weight. Connecting them is a singular, lethal object, a large bow. Marina grips the wood, her fingers curled tight around the riser. Ulay grips the string, pulling it back with the full weight of his torso. And knocked within that string, vibrating with potential kinetic energy, is an arrow. Its steel tip is not pointed at a target or a wall or the empty air. It is pointed directly at Marina's heart. This is restenergy, performed in Amsterdam in 1980. It lasts only 4 minutes and 10 seconds, yet it feels like an eternity carved out of adrenaline. To watch it is to witness a visual paradox, a tableau of stillness that is screaming with invisible motion. The composition is elemental, triangle against triangle, force against counterforce. The physics are simple, yet unforgiving. If Ulay's fingers slip, if his concentration wavers for a microsecond, if a muscle spasm betrays him, the arrow flies. If Marina's knees buckle or her grip falters, the balance breaks and the arrow flies. They exist in a state of mutual dependency so radical that it bypasses psychology and enters the realm of pure mechanics. Their survival is entirely contingent on the other maintaining their post. But the visual tension is only half the story. The true terror of restenergy lies in its soundscape. Small microphones were taped to their chests, amplifying the biological reality of their fear. At the start of the performance, the rhythm is steady, thump-thump, thump-thump. But as the seconds stretch into minutes, as the muscles begin to burn and the lactic acid builds, the audio transforms. The heartbeats accelerate, growing louder, faster, more chaotic. It is a deafening, percussive soundtrack of human vulnerability. You are hearing the sound of the sympathetic nervous system reacting to the immediate threat of death. It turns the gallery space into a resonance chamber for mortal terror. Notice how Ulay's hand shakes. It is not a dramatic affectation. It is the physiological response to holding a recurve bow at full draw, fighting the immense tension of the string. That vibration travels down the arrow shaft, making the tip quiver millimeters from Marina's white shirt. This is art stripped of all artifice. There is no acting here. There is no rehearsal for the feeling of an arrow pointing at your ventricle. This is the visceral mechanics of trust manifested in real time. It compels us to ask, how much of our own lives are held in place by this kind of invisible tension? We lean on others and they lean on us, and often we forget the weapon that sits between us, waiting for gravity to make a mistake. To fully grasp the magnitude of this 4-minute standoff, we must step back and view it through the lens of the relation works, the intense, decade-long collaboration between Abramović and Ulay. Their partnership was never just about creating objects for a museum, it was about testing the absolute limits of the self and the other. They had run into each other repeatedly until they collapsed. They had tied their hair together to become a single entity. They had screamed at each other until they lost their voices. But restenergy represented a chilling evolution in their dialogue. Here, the artistic object was no longer the bow or the arrow. The art was the negative space between them, the electrified air of the relationship itself. Consider the gender dynamics at play in this composition. Traditionally, art history is littered with images of men wielding weapons and women as the passive recipients of violence or the objects of the gaze. Restenergy subverts and complicates this trope. Yes, Ulay holds the active potential for violence, he is the archer, but he is also the anchor. He is bound by the same fragility as Marina. He cannot leave. He cannot lower his arms without collapsing the structure. He is a prisoner of his own power. Marina, the target, is simultaneously the foundation. She holds the bow that allows the tension to exist. Without her resistance, his pull is meaningless. It is a profound inversion of power, where the victim and the executioner are locked in a suicide pact, where neither can survive without the other. This performance acts as a brutal, stripped-down philosophy of love. In any deep relationship, we inevitably hand the other person the power to destroy us. We open our chests, we expose our vulnerabilities, and we place a weapon in their hands, trusting, hoping that they will not let the string slip. To love is to stand in the trajectory of the arrow. It is an act of supreme surrender. Most of us do this metaphorically, hiding the danger behind words and domestic routines. Abramović and Ulay made it literal. They removed the safety net. The arrow is the physical manifestation of every hurtful word unspoken, every betrayal not committed, every moment of patience held despite the urge to lash out. The beauty of rest energy lies in its extreme duality. It is an image of total aggression, an arrow aimed at a heart, and yet it is also an image of total support. They are holding each other up. If they were not leaning away, if they were not trusting each other's weight, they would fall. The tension that threatens to kill them is also the force that keeps them standing. It suggests that the line between love and destruction is not a solid wall, but a vibrating string, kept taut only by the constant, exhausting effort of two people refusing to let go. It is a portrait of surrender that demands we look at the weapons we hold in our own relationships and acknowledge the terrifying trust required to keep them undrawn. When the 4 minutes and 10 seconds finally elapsed, the tension broke. Ulay slowly relaxed the tension on the string, careful not to let it snap, and the two artists stood upright, exhausted, their hearts still hammering against their ribs. Marina Abramovic would later describe this performance as the shortest piece she had ever done, yet the one that felt the longest. This distortion of time is critical to understanding the piece's legacy. In the realm of trauma and extreme focus, time ceases to be linear. It expands. Each second that the arrow did not pierce her skin was a second where she had to actively choose to remain in the line of fire. It was an eternity of now, repeated over and over again. Looking back, it is impossible not to see rest energy as a premonition. The intensity that fueled their art, that ability to live on the razor's edge of emotion and physical endurance, was sustainable for a performance, but perhaps fatal for a life. 8 years later, they would walk from opposite ends of the Great Wall of China to say goodbye, ending their romantic and professional partnership. But in 1980, under the harsh gallery lights, they were suspended in that perfect, terrible balance. The legacy of rest energy endures because it captures a universal truth that goes far beyond the avant-garde circles of the 1980s. It has become one of the most iconic images of performance art because it bypasses the intellect and speaks directly to the nervous system. We are all, in some sense, living in a state of rest energy. We are suspended in webs of dependency on our partners, on our societies, on the biological machinery of our own bodies. We rely on the invisible forces of goodwill and competence to keep the arrow from flying. Every time we get in a car, every time we undergo surgery, every time we fall asleep next to someone, we are leaning back, trusting that the counterweight will hold. The piece forces us to confront the fragility of this arrangement. It strips away the illusion of control and reveals the stark reality. We are safe only because someone else is holding the string. Ultimately, rest energy is not a stunt. A stunt is designed to dazzle. This was designed to reveal. It revealed the terrified, beating heart at the center of human connection. It remains a dangerous 4 minutes, not just because an arrow could have pierced a heart, but because it pierced the veil of comfort we wrap around our relationships. It showed us that trust is not a soft, passive emotion. It is a muscular, sweaty, terrifying exertion. It is the act of leaning back into the void, eyes open, watching the arrow, and staying there anyway. And in that frozen moment, Abramović and Ulay gave us an image of love that is as sharp and irrevocable as a diamond, or an arrowhead.